That's very typical of me. Let me share my screen. I just noticed as I was getting ready to have the students introduce themselves that my microphone it had a bar going through it. And I said, certainly they could hear me because no one said anything. But you're kind. Uh, Welcome. We are glad that you're here. If you've come to see our teaching residency portfolios, you are in the right place. Again, my name is Richard Mayans.
Just
I've
so you
had
know, Dr. Mayans, we can't see your face, just your profile picture.
Okay.
So I think your video's off too. There you go.
Okay. Well, see, the teaching candidates were worried that their presentations wouldn't go well, and so now we got that out of the way. Mine didn't go great, so it's going to be a fabulous night. Welcome everyone again. Our three candidates that we have tonight will be Mickey Ragosta. She is in secondary education. She's at Willow High School in teaches social studies. And Danielle Roof, I see, is here, so welcome and we're going to have everyone quickly introduce themselves. We have Tabitha Richardson, who is secondary mathematics, and we have Benjamin Wu Hall, who is secondary world languages, specifically Spanish. I've had the unique opportunity of working with all three of these candidates and really having to switch gears. As you can see, we have a social studies history, we have a mathematics, and we have a Spanish teacher. And it's been fun to sit in Spanish classes and try to remember what I learned in high school many, many moons ago. But welcome. At the School of Professional Advancement, we have a pre-K through 12 education programs. And so the candidates you'll be hearing from tonight specifically are looking to get a license, a teaching license in the state of Louisiana in grades 6 through 12. And so we call that our secondary programs. Tonight's agenda, finally, each of the residents is going to begin shortly, very shortly, and they'll have about up to 12 minutes. They're going to open with their philosophy of teaching. So, what it is they believe are best practices in teaching and learning, and how their work or their artifacts support that. They're going to also point out about two key artifacts. And what I mean by key artifacts are assignments or experiences or learning opportunities that they've had in the program and how those connect with one of the 12 in-task standards. The in-task standards are a national set of standards in which all teachers from any accredited education program should graduate knowing how to do or having exposure. For instance, there is a teaching standard regarding student engagement. And so we really talk about in our program and through observations, as our mentor teachers know, and the supervisors, we look for do our candidates engage their students? Uh, are their students actively engaged in the learning process? Do they take ownership of it? And how do we see that? How do we know? Or another standard is teachers use meaningful data to make instructional decisions. So are our residents using the data from the students they're teaching to inform their instruction, or are they just randomly creating curriculum? And so they're going to talk more about that tonight and how some of the work that they've completed matches some of these standards. Finally, they'll segue, or second to finally, they'll segue into their areas of reinforcement and refinement. An area of reinforcement is an area that they do particularly well or that we've noted is a strength of that candidate. Their refinement areas would be areas in which we could see continual growth and we encourage them to deepen their thinking, their practice, their beliefs in that area. And finally, they'll end with their professional goals, both short term and long term. So, where do they see their trajectory, excuse me, as they continue in the career? And then finally, we'll have up to 5, 6 minutes or so, if it's going well, of questions or comments. And we welcome you to please ask questions or highlight something that they said that you found interesting, or to give them something to think about more deeply. This is a night of showcasing their learning, but also in continuing the learning. Uh, so, welcome. I'm glad that you're here. We'd like to do quick introductions. If you could just, and I'll start, state your name and who you know or who you don't know, if you're here for a particular candidate, or maybe you're just here in general, and what your relationship is to education. Okay, so I'll start. I'm Richard Myhans. I'm the professor of these three fine students, and that would be my relationship and the reason for being here. And I welcome you. I'll begin with our candidates, Tabitha.
Hey, I'm Tabitha Richardson. I teach middle school special education in New Orleans East, and I know most of the people in this Zoom, whether they're related to me, uh, past professors and teachers, or go to my church.
To verify, what's your location? Okay, great. Thank you so much. Is it Karen or Corinne?
It's an odd name. I'm Tabitha's aunt.
Well,
My sister is E. Richardson, Erica, and our father's family is Swedish, so we have Karin and Erica.
I
Um,
love it.
as I said, I'm Tabitha's auntie. And then relationship to education, I actually am currently the lead instructor for a emergency medical services advanced EMT class here in Virginia.
Okay, okay. So you're on East Coast.
Yes.
I moved from North Carolina, so
Oh.
I miss the East Coast. Welcome. We're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
E. Richardson, I've been wanting to meet you.
Whatever she said probably is true, 100%.
All
So my
good.
name is Erica Richardson. I am Tabitha's mother. I currently am employed by a Bureau of Indian Education school in Arizona, and I am the registrar, attendance clerk, nurse, field trip coordinator. Basically, I do a whole bunch of stuff.
You're the one that I always tell teachers, student teachers, that's the number one person you want to make friends with in your building. They are the person to know. So welcome, and I'd love to pick your brain sometime about what the work you do. Thank you for being here. Benjamin.
Oh, that's me. Hi. Another East Coast person from South Carolina, Greenville. Teach Spanish here at Morris Jeff Community School in Mid-City, and I've been here for 4 years now, and it's a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. Alice, I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly.
Alice.
Alice. Okay,
Yes.
great.
Hi. My name is Alice Jefferson. I live in Metairie, Louisiana. I am here with Tabitha. We go to the same church, and I was delighted to have this invitation to join you all. I was the director of children's ministry at my prior church for 10 plus years. I
Wow.
taught sixth grade, and I just have a love for learning. So I'm here to learn more.
Well, welcome. We're certainly glad you're here.
Thank
Anyone
you.
who teaches sixth grade deserves a crown. I taught sixth grade, and I know my principal said, "Would you please loop with them to seventh grade?" And I said, "No, I will not go to seventh grade. I'll go to eighth grade, but not seventh."
I
Welcome,
felt the
Alice.
same way.
We're glad that you're here.
Thank you.
Uh, Mickey.
Hi, I'm Mickey. I teach or student teach social studies at Willow, specifically AP Gov, and with sophomores.
Awesome. Thank you. Danielle, I was glad to
Hey,
see you here.
yeah, great to see you as well. Thanks for the invite. I am Mickey's mentor teacher at Willow, and in addition to the Gov classes that Mickey has been teaching, I also teach economics, and that is my educator role as well, is teaching high school social studies. So happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here. What she didn't say was that she is also through the program, but she came with so much talent. And I have to say this, I don't want to embarrass you. The lesson I saw the other day, I wanted to see more of it. I left right when they were getting ready to do their projects, but I just have to say, phenomenal. Thank you. Okay, next, COSC student. Um, welcome.
Yeah,
Oh, I see it now. I see it now. Okay, Doctor. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it Tutsi.
that's it.
Okay,
I
welcome.
I don't know why it said computer science student, but okay. Yeah, Tabitha was one of my students, and she was definitely a superstar. She would come in the room, we turn the lights off, and just watch her glow in the dark.
Yes,
But
it's still what grade?
but I will say one thing, teaching anything below the college level is harder than teaching college. Oh my goodness. And I remember junior high school. Oh no, never, never, never.
What could I ask what you taught? What grade level you taught Tabitha in? What?
Yeah. Well, I teach math and computer science. Tabitha, which classes did you take from me?
Dr. Tucci was my undergraduate advisor and professor for some of my upper level math classes at Loyola.
Yeah.
Well, the something that I've always notated with Tabitha is the content knowledge is excellent.
Yeah.
So well done in the part you played in that. So thank you for being here. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
Michael. And I see that we have a Zoom user. I don't want to force anyone to, and maybe your microphones aren't working. So if that's if you're just here to observe, that's fine too. Um, so we will get started. And as we have others, we probably won't stop and introduce, but we'll do that at the very end. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Mickey, and Mickey has our ears for the next 10 to 12 minutes. And then we'll stop and comment or ask questions and move on. And we have three of these tonight. And thank you for being here. Okay, Mickey, I'm going to turn it over to you.
And excuse me, I'm just going to interrupt for 1 minute, Dr. Mayans. It's Dr. Woods, and so I'm that user. I apologize. I'm on my phone, but
That's
happy to be here,
okay.
you all. Sorry, I'm not. And then I'm ready to hear
I
Tabitha.
see you. I see you. I see you. We're very glad that you're here. So Dr. Woods is our associate dean, and she's over so many things. What isn't she over? But she's a fine colleague, an outstanding mentor, and a good friend. And I'm glad that you're here. And she is the one most interested in hearing about the learning, and she kind of closes out the whole loop. So it's I'm so glad that she's here and thank you, Dr. Woods, for being here.
Hello, I'm sorry I'm a little bit late on my day. I'm sorry. I had to
No,
sit
you're great.
here. Tabitha, I was Tabitha's third, fourth, and fifth grade teacher in Grass Valley, California.
Oh,
And
Great
then
kid.
my sister's third, fourth,
And
and fifth grade
I also taught
teacher.
Vicky, fourth and fifth grade, and great kids. Definitely ones I remember, and very proud of her. I always knew she was going to go somewhere. I always knew it. She was a bright kid. Uh,
wow. Thank you. Thank you for being here. How special that is.
yeah.
It almost made me tear up. That's wonderful that you're here. And it's the same way. I'd like to compare notes because Tabitha, people don't really change much, do they? Whether they're fourth grade or in college, she's the same. So I know she's thrilled you're here. I think I've actually heard stories about you.
So,
So welcome and through that. So Tabitha, the spotlight is on you. I'm going to give you a 2 minute warning when it's time. I think I've set up sharing capabilities so you can share your screen if you need to. And without further ado, ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen,
I
Tabitha
just have
Richards.
to figure out how to do that.
Down below. Yep, you got it.
Okay. And then I do play from start.
Yes.
Y'all can see the whole presentation?
Yes, I can.
Beautiful.
So,
Okay.
okay.
This is my first time sharing a slideshow.
Good.
So, good evening for those of you who do know me. Obviously, I'm Tabitha. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tabitha Richardson, or Miss Tab, hey you lady, Miss Richardson, or Miss Rich to my students. And I teach seventh and eighth grade special education math, specifically resource, at Mildred Osborne Charter School in New Orleans East. This is my 7th year at that school. I was blessed enough to start there right out of undergrad. And they keep bringing me back. I'm doing something right, I guess. I primarily provide resource support for 3 groups of students, but I also teach 2 intervention blocks as well as support 2 general education homerooms in our Zern block, which is a digital curriculum where students are working independently at their own pace on computer lessons. For the last 2.5 years, I've been working through SOPA for my Master's of Arts in Teaching Secondary Math, and this is my residency portfolio. My philosophy of teaching has 3 main tenets: growth, data usage, and SPED advocacy. I think it's very important for students to be able to access their growth, both as a special education teacher and as a teacher in general. In my class, students care about how they're performing. I'll grade an assignment, or not even grade an assignment, I'll give an assignment. They will turn the assignment into me and then immediately ask me, what's my grade now? Because they're so invested in their own learning that they want to know how that impacts them. I believe that that growth has to be visible to them. So on the presentation in the middle of the screen, you see that kind of flower number line with all little buggies. That's how I measure their IEP goal progress. So each student has a bug aligned to a specific IEP goal that we're measuring. And as they get a new high score, the bug moves up the number line. And so they're able to visually see how they're progressing in both their IEP goals and my class. And then on the right-hand side, that's just our grading scale. Osborne uses standards-based grading, similarly aligned to how the LEAP scores are aligned. So the students don't have an A, B, C, D, F grade. They have a 0, 1, 2, 3 that shows how far they've mastered a standard. Data is very important to me as a math nerd and also as a teacher in general. You give me a spreadsheet and I am on it like white on rice. They send us the LEAP scores at the beginning of the school year, and within 10 minutes, I have extracted all of my students' data, and I'm looking at it. Where can we do better? What can we improve? So I have data in a couple of different places in my classroom. The first is grading, where I'm looking at our exit tickets, our quizzes, our assessments to see what standards are students performing good on, what are students not performing as well on, and how can I use that information to guide my practice. And then, of course, as special education teacher, I have to maintain and track 18 students' IEP goals and their progress through various platforms. We use AimsWeb. And then, of course, I have this beautiful little number line in my classroom. And then SPED advocacy as a special education teacher, that's one of the most important roles of my job besides educating the children, is to make sure that in my classroom and all of their classrooms, their needs are being met. So when I teach my class, I focus on making it feel as normal as possible. I'm teaching the same lesson as the general education teacher is teaching, and I make sure to emphasize that to the students. We are doing the same work as the other students in your homeroom. We just get to have a little bit deeper discussion. We get to have more supports. You get to have a calculator. They don't. We get to spend 10 minutes on this problem. They get to spend 2 minutes on this problem. So it really makes them feel like they are on par with their classmates and not less, because there is that stigma with special education. And they have active roles in my classroom. I ensure that they are very active in their monitoring. So when they see this number line, they look for their score. What's my high score? How did I do on this one? How close am I to my goal? So it's important to me that they are, especially as they are moving from my classes into high school, able to advocate for themselves, because when they get to high school, that IEP does follow them, and they need to know what supports they get to be able to tell their teachers. Because I see 18 children. Their high school teacher is going to see anywhere from 30 to 150. And it's a little unreasonable to expect them to memorize every single IEP that comes across their door. So, moving into my artifacts, I've chosen 2 artifacts. The first one is from the in-task standard 1 around learner development. And I've chosen to look at pair assessment data trends. All students in my school are expected to take their classroom assessments digitally instead of on paper, because that's how they'll see them for the end of year assessments. And so we want them to get that practice with those tech enhanced problems and how the platform looks before they're placed in front of the test and don't know what to do. I do not like the platform that we use for the curriculum-based tests because it doesn't allow me to give the full range of accommodations that I need to be able to give. I can give read aloud and a calculator, but some of my kids get answer banks and some of my kids get reduced word choices. So I take all of the assessments, and I actually did this yesterday with the seventh grade assessment that they're taking on Thursday, and I put them into what's called pair assessment, which was formerly called Edulastic, which allows me to go more in depth with those accommodations because I am customizing the test. The data presentation on pair is also much more in depth than it is on the Great Minds curriculum website. And so this screen is just a collection of all the different reports that you can pull from pair. We have single assessment reports where you can look at just one specific test. You can look at multiple assessment reports where you can look at trends over time as students are taking different assessments. You can pull up mastery by standard, and you can look at individual students. So these other two slides, this slide and the next slide, are both examples of the performance over time, looking at different assessments. So this is 3 of my 8th graders. And you can see that in average, 7 of my students are improving their scores as the year is going on. One of them has had some decrease, but this shows specifically how students are performing on each assessment and whether or not they were there for that assessment. So you can see this first student, he's had some kind of low grades, but then we took that one assessment and he got a 90%. This student at the bottom, he's had low grades overall, but he is still growing. This is that same assessment gradient with my 7th graders, and you can see that all of my 7th graders are currently making progress as we go throughout the year, which is great to see that they are growing and learning. Then this is another example. This is what the standards-based assessment data looks like. So this shows 8th grade, specifically the standards that they've been measured on. So these are NSA 2 is a number sense standard, and then EEA 1 through 4 are expressions and equations. So these ones in particular are exponent rules, scientific notation, and square and cube roots. And so you can see the average of how each student has performed on those standards. This data, having it shown to me this way compared to how the assessment platform shows it, really gives me an in-depth look to see most of my students didn't do too good on EEA2. Let's look at these questions and see which ones they missed. Was it the way the question was presented? Was it what the question was asking? And be able to determine whether or not that's something that I need to reteach because they didn't understand the concept, or if we just need to focus on more of those type of questions. My second standard was assessment standard 6, which was about assessment. And I chose the interim assessment analysis protocol that we use at Crescent City Schools. Students take 3 interim assessments per year, as well as their LEAP test. And the interim assessments are standardized tests aligned to their curriculum through Achievement Network. So they're aligned roughly to where we should be in the curriculum at this time of year. So students took their first one in October, they take their next one next week, and then they'll take one again in March. This is a summative assessment, so it measures what they've learned so far to that point of the school year. And then once the students finish this and we get all the scores back, teachers are expected to complete an analysis to look for what we call glows and grows at the school, or Dr. Mayans might call them reinforcements and refinements. I personally look for grows because I love to share those with my students. So when I do this assessment or this analysis, I'm not just looking to show it to my boss and say, hey, I did it, I complied, I did what you wanted. When I pull these grows up, I look and see my students performed higher on the standards than I was expecting. They took their time. I can see how long they took to answer the test. I can see that one of their standards, they had very close to the general education class percentage. And I share that information with the students because I think it's important for them to know, hey, here's how you're doing. Here's how we compare to everybody else. Let's keep working. We use the standard that we consider a priority standard or our lowest performing standard to plan a mini reteach. When I look for that standard, I choose a standard that is the lowest performing major standard of the grade using the Louisiana State Common Core Standards alignment to rigor, which shows you whether or not it is a major, minor, or additional standard. Because if it's a minor or additional standard, I know it's not going to be heavily represented on the LEAP test, and it's not necessarily something I want to spend extra time focusing on when we can focus on more important standards.
2 more minutes, but I'll give you three if you
Okay.
need it.
When I do this, I also look for whether or not students just missed the question because it was a weird question. So this example on the screen was question 7 on that analysis, and all of the students missed this test because ANET does all or nothing. If you do not have every single correct answer, you get 0 points. In looking at this data, 71% of my students had at least one of the correct answer choices. So that tells me they know what they're doing, they just struggle with multi-select questions. This analysis we use to reteach. So we have a 3-day plan. The first day is we reteach a lesson that we've already taught. And the second and third day, we are finding a new way to teach this. When I looked at this standard that I chose, it was for square and cube roots. I noticed that in the curriculum, we actually skipped one of the lessons that really went over this in depth. And so I got permission from the DOC, which is the Director of Curriculum, to teach that lesson because it wasn't in our pacing guide. And when I was looking at the questions, I felt like that really aligned to what skills the kids were missing. These analyses are unique to each teacher, they're unique to each school year. The standard that I chose this year is different than the standard I had last year because every year it's a new group of kids. And each kid in each class is going to perform differently on these standards. So, all that said, this is my 7th year in education, and I've got some really proud moments. One of my biggest moments that I'm proud of is seeing my students grow each year, both socially and academically, and especially this year academically. Every year we baseline the students for their IEP goals, and most of my students grew one academic year from May to August. So where they ended last year, if they ended on the 5th grade level, when they came back in the fall, they were at the 6th grade level. I don't know. I don't know what they were doing over the summer, but they were growing. And I love to see that. I've had 2 students already meet their benchmark goals and move up a grade level this year. I am definitely proud that I have completed this program while being a full-time teacher. It has not been easy. I've made it though. And then probably the thing I'm most proud of actually hasn't happened yet, but it will happen in May, which is when I watch this class of 8th graders graduate and leave me, because these are the students that I have known since my first year here at the school. I pushed into their class when they were in 2nd grade, and even though they still don't all know my name 7 years later, they are my babies, and I will miss them. So moving forward, my refinement area, reinforcement area, we'll start there, is my data-driven instruction. I am very strong for data, and I love to be able to look at my data and say, hey, maybe I didn't teach this so good. Let's go over this again. Or hey, we didn't get this. What's up with this question? How can we relearn this? And my special education advocacy and support. I love my students. I want them to succeed. They want to succeed. So I want to work together with them to make sure that we are doing that. My area of refinement is family communication, mostly balancing the good calls with the bad calls. I definitely am that teacher who calls parents more for the, hey, your child got put out of class, than the, hey, your child got 100% on their exit ticket. And so that's one of the goals that I have for myself moving forward is just calling more to celebrate and make sure that these families are hearing that their kid is a good kid. Their kid is doing what they need to do to be successful. And then if Dr. Mayans has his way, I'll be a principal in 5 to 10 years and I won't have to do that anymore.
Absolutely.
Oop, thank you.
Thank you, Tabitha. Nicely done. I have had the distinct pleasure of being in your classroom many times. What Tabitha didn't tell you all is that we recorded her. We were having a state visit, and they needed to see a secondary mathematics teacher. And so, Tabitha, I think you may have been the only one. last semester. Okay, so that was Tabitha, and Dr. Woods said we really need for the state team as they were doing our accreditation to see secondary mathematics teachers. And so I said, Tabitha, you really don't have a choice. But we're going to record you in a series of lessons and through the pre and post observation. And she soared. She did phenomenally well. And I was so proud of her. And one of the things that I've noted, and then I want to open it up for any questions or comments, is that you make math achievable, reachable, and accessible. You just do. And I wish I'd had a math teacher like you who, because I was always nervous in math class. I teach reading and humanities. And because of that, I notice your students take risks and they aren't afraid to participate and to ask questions and to be wrong. And Tabitha always situates when they're wrong, in that's how we learn. That's the best way we learn. So kudos to
I
you.
think it's very important that students are allowed to make mistakes because school is the safe place to do that. And so one of my classroom, expectations is if you get it wrong, we don't laugh.
Right. And
And
it's
so the
obvious.
students know because I'll call them out. I'll be like they love to be like, well, that's why you're sped. And I'm like, you're here too, my friend. You all need
Right.
help.
Yes, and you're perfect with seventh graders. I don't know. There aren't, that's a compliment. So I want to open it up to our audience. If there are any comments or questions others have, please uh, go forward.
So I'll throw one out there. Tabitha jumped in late last semester to tutor her 21-year-old autistic cousin in a collegiate level pre-calculus class when he hit a snag that he didn't understand. And I didn't get a chance to tell you, Taba, he got an A in the class.
Wow. Thank you for
Excited.
sharing that. And that's the kind of feedback that I think someone said, maybe it was Ms. Ruth said, it's a delayed reaction or delayed gratification. And so that's wonderful to hear that. And Tabitha, prepare for a career, and all candidates prepare for a career where you will hear that down the road, and it means a lot. Michael.
Hey, kiddo, I'm so proud of you. I've always known that you were going to do something in your life, and helping other people is the greatest achievement you could ever accomplish. I've known that you are a kind hearted, hardworking, intelligent person since what, fourth grade, and never lose that. Keep your compassion. I love you, sweetie, and I'm so proud of you. Keep it up.
That's the best. I think if my fourth grade teacher came back and told me that, I would be melting. That's wonderful. And I wonder, Michael, was she a teacher even in fourth grade? Was she a helper and a teacher then?
Absolutely, she was a helper. She was quite a bit in that class that I had. She was academically quite a bit higher than the rest of the class, so she was definitely a helper. Um,
I
and
still remember the whole class helping you pass your first aid certification so you could teach track.
yeah, well, no one got hurt.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
great kid, and thank you for inviting me. It does mean a lot.
I'm glad you were here. Very
Thank
glad. And I know she was. Others, any questions or comments before we segue?
I just want to commend Tabitha on that. I'm just going to call it the balance or inclusion of both the importance of data with academic achievement and growth. And then, when she talked about her three tenets, just having that special education advocacy. So advocating for her students too, and knowing how important that is too. So that's just really special and important as we think about educators and how they interact with students and help them with the academic achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Woods. And I think you would agree. If you go into her, she teaches sixth, seventh, and eighth, but if you go especially into the seventh grade, they're very special. These students are amazing and what they can do. And I've seen the light Come on, literally, and I'm not there every day. So more to come from Tabitha. Thank you, Tabitha, for sharing. We're going to